Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. Boy, I hope you had a great Christmas. There's no other way to put it. I had a very humble one, but a very good one. I didn't get any pew-pew stuff, but I did get to go out and do some shooting yesterday, as I always do. It's something that I do because it reminds me of my dad, my brothers. I would have liked to have taken the kids out this weekend, or today, but we just didn't get a chance to. They did come over for dinner, and that was exactly what I wanted. I'm 46 years old. The magic and mystery of Christmas is long since been gone. For me, it's a little bit more about the reason for the season, which is Jesus. So I'm more okay with not getting anything majorly anyway. So with that, let's roll right into what I was going to talk to you guys today. Now, I should have made something Thursday and Friday of last week, but I was still recovering from whatever coof I caught. I'm pretty sure it wasn't COVID, but to be honest, I hadn't bothered to get a test. There was one of those days I actually got another reoccurrence of a fever, so I pretty much just kind of stayed down, stayed low, and made sure that I was getting healthier and better, which it appears I am. A lot better. But one of the stories I left you with was where San Juan County Sheriff's Shane Ferrari has specifically went after a gun-grabbing organization, meaning that this organization was going to have a gun buyback event here. It's New Mexicans to Prevent Gun Violence is the organization. So, if you didn't hear what had been going on, the chief of police, Hebe, in Farmington, New Mexico, in northwest New Mexico, had gotten with this organization to do a gun buyback. Well, northwest New Mexico, we like to keep our county, our city, and our state as tactical as we can. Needless to say, there was a big pushback, so much so that the event was actually supposed to be canceled. What ended up happening is this New Mexicans to Prevent Gun Violence Act actually went door to door, knocking on doors to transfer firearms, to pick up firearms, or to try to purchase firearms from people. Thus, this is what rose flags for someone like San Juan County Sheriff Shane Ferrari to go, hey, wait a minute. You can't just go around and transfer firearms. That is illegal in itself. So whether you're trying to do this for your supposed good reason or not, you broke the law. And it gets better. In this story, they actually went, not only did they go door to door to transfer firearms from person to person, so again, something that should have been legal but was deemed illegal by our governor, and our governor has endorsed this organization to do exactly what they're doing. They broke the law. Not just the letter of the law, they really broke the law. Because the next thing they did is they actually went to an actual local school and transferred some of these firearms from one person to another person. Now, you cannot have firearms on any K-12 school, period. That is federal, state, you're just not supposed to do this. Unless you're a law enforcement agent under, and even then, you have to be on duty to be carrying a firearm, so you can't do this even then. So this Safer New Mexicans to Prevent Gun Violence literally did two things wrong that broke the law. And this brought forth Shane's inquiry into who these guys were, and it looks like it's making national news, because William Kirk from Washington Gun Law, he's found this story shortly after I started covering it. Now that means that it's making national rules or national law, not law or rules, rolls through national media. I knew that was going to happen when I saw it hit Twitter or X. And NPC was one of the first National Firearms, NFPC, Policy Coalition, were the first people to grab a hold of this and start going, what the heck? Well, now these guys are facing federal crimes. Because if you do this when you start going to a school, you've broken a federal crime, or you've committed a federal crime. I'm all for it. If it shuts people down from stopping the prohibition of being illegal to a member, just a person that is using their rights, there's something to be said about this. And while a lot of people don't seem to have a problem with gun buybacks, because there's a lot of idiots doing them. Well, one of the things that this organization did is they broke another law, an ATF law. And there are specific laws when you destroy a firearm. Okay, so these guys had taken them to get to a place to have them bandsawed. And which is fine, but you have to do it a certain way. You actually have to take a 1/4 inch of material. The gun has to be cut in angles, and it has to go through their major primary parts. So what they did is they cut the stuff up to make it into art. And why they transferred them or left these parts that weren't fully destroyed, meaning that they're still technically, to the letter of the law, legal firearms and working order, even though they're still cut up, to a local art teacher at a K-12 school to make art from these pieces parts. Now, this is what flagged all over the place, and Shane got involved and started going after these guys, and rightly so. I mean, we know this isn't a good thing, and anybody who would transfer a gun out of the back of a car, basically, or directly to someone for a gift card is kind of an idiot anyway. This week, we also have to kind of take a victory lap, guys. So in a federal case in California, they have stopped the safe gun places. So let me explain this a little better. I'm trying to figure out the words of what I wanted to say here. So in New Mexico, our governor has gotten away with making certain places gun-free zones. She got the idea from Gavin Newsom, from the governor of California, because he had done this where he was just trying to make all kinds of places gun-free zones so that you couldn't carry there, especially after the Bruen decision where you have to start issuing gun permits now. Well, this federal judge just threw it in their face and said, no, that's not a thing. Why is this good for New Mexicans? Why is this good for all of us in the 2A? Because this actually is being stayed or stopped in California. And this was one of their signature moves, I guess, or signature bills that they were looking at trying to get to go everywhere in the nation. And it was stopped cold by a federal judge. Means that not only is our governor liable to lose in court when the rubber meets the road and they finally end up going to court again for the incorrect application of the law when it comes to where you can carry a gun. I.e. in Bernalillo County, you're not allowed to carry on playgrounds. This judge threw this out in a lot of places that even I was a little shocked would be safe to carry a gun in if this goes into effect nationwide. One of them was any place that serves alcohol. In New Mexico, that is a big no-no. If you're caught with a gun any place, whether you're going there shopping and they have alcohol, or you go to a restaurant and they serve alcohol, you are committing a felony in the eyes of New Mexico law. Okay? You're not supposed to be carrying a firearm in any of those places, period. Well, if the letter of the law gets put down just like it was in California, in New Mexico, like it would be or should be, it means that open places like playgrounds, schools, parks, are legal to be carrying into now. Places like bars, restaurants that serve alcohol, stores that serve alcohol would be legal to carry in. Now, why is this a big deal? Because what this judge actually said in the opinion is that something we all know in the 2A is that we don't know the time and place of our attack. If we're going to be attacked, we don't know when it's going to happen. So why would you allow people to be prohibited from having the means to defend themselves in all these places, in public spaces, where they are basically at the will of the attacker? And first responders are usually there after the fact. Well, this win basically is saying that that's not the case. You need to have the ability to defend yourself no matter where you're at any time. We need more of this type of thing going on. The same vein, the same day this court case gets handed down, President Biden pardoned marijuana users. Now, it looks like in that it's a wide blanket pardon. There's some questions I have as far as what that means for 2A people. Because if you've been pardoned, you're still technically messing with a prohibited substance, which means you cannot legally own a firearm. But I would wonder how that applies to the letter of the law if you've been pardoned. Now, to get one of these pardons, because whether it's just criminal possession, one-time use, it's pretty broad in what Biden has said, but he still kept the marijuana on the Schedule 1 to be enforced. So this doesn't make a lot of sense, but it allows people to get off or to get out of legal chains, so to speak. It seems to be focused mostly in D.C. However, with this broad of a pardon given, there's got to be room in other states for this to be applied to the letter of the law to let people get their rights back or to let them get their freedom back. Now, a lot of people would say, especially in the 2A, because we have a lot of people that still believe in the law of the land and everything, but rule of law is everything we need to follow. After COVID, I'm not one of those guys. After the COVID lockdown specifically, I quit caring about what was legal and what wasn't as far as the letter of the law, because we're in a two-tiered justice system now. It appears that the letter of the law is focused in on anyone who is the opposition of the current political party in power right now. Now, I understand that we should all follow the law of the land, and I do. I'm just saying that I have no respect for it anymore. I have lost that respect that I once had. You know, I had some heartburn today with some gifts I saw another person get that were basically back the blue type stuff. And where I have the problem is I don't know that I back the blue like I used to. What I mean is I respect them. Every person that ever went out and wears the badge and the gun, or first responder who responds to a fire, or EMT that comes out and helps heal people. But where I disassociate from that is these same people were the ones that would lock us down because they needed a paycheck. Where is their loyalty now? With that said, seeing pushback from people like Shane gives me great hope that I should be backing the blue again. Now, with that, there are some caveats to that. I know that if the rubber hits the road, that law enforcement's going to come after you because, well, their paycheck matters. What we need to do is make them just as afraid of us as they are of losing their paycheck. Because there is something to be said about having those moral characteristics. And a lot of these cops and first responders have those moral characteristics that we want in those jobs. But they need to be reminded of the fact that they work for the American people and the citizenry, not the government. And that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. You know, I understand that the law says this, but if you're willing to push back now, you know, the biggest problem we've had with our society in the last few years is for good people just to stand on the sidelines and say, well, I'm just doing my job. Well, that's not the case. You know, I left the job because I wasn't willing to do something that was against my moral compass, basically. There's always an option for you to say, no, enough's enough. Where's that line in the sand for these law enforcement agencies, for these first responders, when it comes to knowing who they serve, who they protect? You know, there's been several cases of January 6th people being put in solitary confinement for years now and not even seeing trial yet. And their correctional facility people telling them, hey, I'm just doing my job. Well, that's great. You know, you remind me of the Nazi. You know, the ones that after World War II, when we had the Nuremberg trials, and they had to stand in front of the man because they helped kill 6 million people. And a lot of them ended up being hung or going to jail because they were just doing their job. You know, that's a stark, cold reminder, but it's the truth. And that our law enforcement agents now and our first responders need to understand that that's how we see them now. Is they need to understand that they're held to that same moral compass that they've always are supposed to have had. My support for you is only in that you're willing to back what you say when the rubber meets the road and things get bad. Because you didn't do that for us last time. We shut down the world for a cold. We are still paying the repercussions for that. We're still seeing tons and tons of repercussions of that. Not only economically, but we're seeing it with kids. We're seeing the mental health issues that were brought to the glaring forefront now because of the crap that happened with COVID. Now we're all paying the piper, so to speak, for the issues that a lot of us raised concerns for at the beginning of it. Now, I understand it was a once-in-a-lifetime event, but it was pretty early on, after a few months in, that we kind of were right. Those of us that were saying, hey, you can't lock us down, you can't shut down the entire world. And a lot of you still stayed in lockstep with the government and allowed it to continue. So you got to do some soul searching. And I think a lot of us in the 2A community need to have some soul searching moments, because there's still a lot of people that are 100% law and order, back the blue no matter what. And you need to realize that that wasn't the case when they were willing to put their foot on your neck. What were you willing to do? You know, because that is something we have to address going forward, especially in the political environment we're in right now, where you can be demonized for just liking a tweet or sharing a tweet. You can be gone after, arrested. There are several people that are in jail right now because of stuff surrounded with the January 6th stuff, because they are weaponizing the legal system against anyone who would speak out. So before you back the blue 100%, you need to make sure that those boys in blue and ladies in blue are actually there for the American people and the citizenry of the United States and New Mexico. Like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, be great. and I hope you had a very Merry Christmas.